And Kofla, good morning. Thank you for posting. Shirley Feldman, good morning. Thank you. Right, we are live on Facebook and on YouTube Live. So all those who are joining us, good morning, Felicia. Thank you for posting the morning greetings. Sally Seligman, good morning. Welcome, Sally. Good to have you online with us. All those who are joining, I see lots of people coming online now. Please post good morning greetings. Manfred Calder, good morning. Good stuff. We'll just wait a few moments while everyone's logging on. So just take a minute with that. Be patient with us as our students join us from around the country. If anyone's zooming in from out of the country, please let us know. We want to know you're here with us. Morning, Arnold Orkin. Dennis Solomons, thank you for posting. Thank you for sharing. Trevor Gerson, good morning. Thank you. Okay. Steve Nossel, your comment didn't come through on this classroom, did it? Just check that if you're commenting on the right classroom. I'm not sure why it's coming through on a different video. Okay, loud and clear. Good. Our numbers are picking up nicely, which is good. Thank you for joining. Make sure we're following the comments here. Hilly, good morning. See, we've got some visitors on YouTube too. If you're joining us on YouTube, we'd love to see who you are. So just post in the comments. Okay. And we're going to get going for this morning. Thank you for joining us on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live. If you are joining us now, we would love for you to say hello on both platforms. Just put a post, put a greeting, put a comment. That'd be great. If you are watching, we'd love to know you're watching. So let us know that you're here. Avi Joseph, good morning. Right, let's get going. So yesterday, in our share and discussion, we spoke about revealing the neshama, revealing the soul behind everything in life, behind people, behind circumstances, behind nature, value. Good morning, Monty Israel. Thank you for joining us. So, and as I shared that with you, immediately the comeback, the feedback was, Rabbi, let's talk more about this. Let's understand more about our rituals. Let's understand why we do certain specific things. If we have to dig deep and understanding the neshama, what's going on in the world? Why are we going through this? Good morning, Mark Wachenheimer. Why are we going through this? Right? Those are the questions. So automatically that question of why should spread across all areas and all platforms. And we spoke specifically about rituals and customs and halacha and law. We so often focus on why we do things. We don't focus enough. We focus on how to do things. We don't focus enough on the why we do things. What's the reason behind it? So I thought to give you an example of that, I'll choose one particular ritual and a springboard into understanding more. Once again, we welcome everyone. If you are joining us, please post that you're with us and say hello, either on YouTube or on Facebook. Good morning, Lionel Rubin. Thank you for joining us. On YouTube, we're going to get some more interaction from our students on YouTube. So our Facebook students have learned the way. If you're looking on YouTube today, please comment and say good morning. We'd love to know that you're following and sharing with us this discussion. So to give you an example, I thought I would take the morning ritual of washing our hands in the morning, what we call vasing or netilat yadayim, or the washing of the hands. As we know, Jewish practice is to wash our hands when we get up in the morning. Daniel Lad Day today. Thank you for joining us all. So we're busy discussing the morning ritual of washing our hands. And to understand, I want to share with you a depth that many people don't know. So as we get up in the morning, Jewish practice, Jewish law says one should wash their hands in the morning. Netilat yadayim. Doesn't just mean to shower. Doesn't just we take a cup of water and we wash our hands alternatively. Not the same way we wash our hands for bread. Because for bread, we wash the right hand 3 times, or some people have the custom of doing it twice. And then we wash the left hand 3 times. That's how we vas, so to speak, how we wash our hands for bread as we're preparing for bread. But that's different in the morning. When we get up in the morning, as one gets up in the morning, what should be done? We've got to wash our hands. We've got to vas our hands. And the way we wash our hands in the morning is by alternating our hands. So we wash the right hand and then the left hand and the right hand and the left hand and right hand and left hand overall 6 times, washing each hand alternatively 3 times each. Okay, keep that in mind. Often people get confused. They think that the morning washing and the bread washing is the same. It's not the same. It's slightly different. And just keep that in mind. Alternating the hands in the morning. When is this supposed to be done? And please stay with me because I'll go through some practicalities of right first. Fantastic question. Good. In Judaism, the right always goes first because the right represents chesed and kindness. It's our strong hand, and the stronger hand is the right hand and therefore represents kindness, whereas the left hand, being the hand of discipline, represents distance and discipline. We want to always make sure that our hand of chesed, our hand of kindness, is cleansed and washed first rather than the left hand. Okay, something to keep in mind. Right, so Linda's question is, as you can all see the questions coming through on the chat. On Facebook, we got some very, very active Facebookers and students. So Linda's question is, if one's left-handed, which hand comes first? Fantastic question. Fantastic question. So Linda, the answer is, I'm actually a left-hander. And funny because it's just a personal story or personal anecdote. When Esty and I, my wife and I, were dating, it obviously didn't come up in much conversation. At one particular point, we went, otherwise it's a devastation, a disaster. So I'm getting ready for my bowl, and I'm lining up, getting ready, hoping for a strike or for a spare. So I believe that the left-handers have their brains on the right side of their heads, so they're doing well. But anyway, that's a side note. So Linda's question was, if you're left-handed, which one first? So there are many, many opinions about how left-handers practice in terms of this ritual and others. Generally speaking, our left hand goes first. So I make Kiddush in my left hand, while others make Kiddush in their right hand. Okay, etc., etc. So therefore, for washing as well, Linda, a lefty would wash their left hand first. That's correct. So something to keep in mind. While I see people are sharing the video, so please do that. Share the video you're watching. Just press share under your video screen and invite others to join, because that way they'll know that you're tuning in. Getting back to our discussion. So in the morning we wake up, and the ritual, the practice is to wash our hands and eyes. And they shouldn't really be walking around the house and strolling around the house and moving around the house until they've washed their hands. Either immediately after the bathroom, so to speak, as they get going. But that's another discussion. But ideally, the bottom line is, as soon as you can, wash your hands, alternating. Why? Why? What's this all about? It's not hygiene, as I mentioned. Hygiene is with soap. Hygiene is to have a shower in the morning time as we get our day going. So there are a number of reasons. And I'm using this as a process. I see you're a left-hander, so well done. I see Arlene Yudulovitz is commenting. Arlene, you're not commenting on this class. I'm not sure why. It looks like you're commenting on another class. Can you get into this class and share your comments so that we can see and engage with your questions too? Okay, so why are we doing this? And I'm using this as a process, and I hope Norman Stein and Michael Stein are watching, because they're the ones that triggered this particular class. So well done, guys. I'm using this as a process to show you how every aspect in life, including ritual, has a neshama, has a soul, and we've got to use that process to get. We've got to use this process to get to it and to expose it and to reveal the inner meaning. What is the reason for washing our hands in the morning? One reason is because we are compared to Kohanim, the priests in the temple. What happened when the priest, and I spoke about this yesterday, what happened when the priests come from home or from Jerusalem, from wherever they were staying, and they come into the temple, they come to the courtyard of Har HaBayit, Temple Mount, which today we can't have access to so easily. And they arrive to the Har HaBayit, the Temple Mount, and they're ready to start their service. What do they need to do before they start their service? They wash their hands. They wash their hands by the wash basin, which sat in the courtyard of the sanctuary. Does anyone know the name do you know the name for the wash basin in Hebrew? The Hebrew name for the wash basin where the Kohanim would wash their hands. Just share that on the chat. I'd like to see your participation. Just share, what is the name of the vessel, and the Hebrew name for the vessel which was used to wash the hands of the Kohanim as they began their service in the sanctuary? Let us know. I'll wait a moment because I'd love to have your participation. So please start posting away. The name of the vessel that was used for the Kohanim to wash their hands as they began their service in the morning. Okay, the reaction is a little slow, and the delay of comments is a little slow. So unless the messages come through in just a moment, I'm going to give you away the answer. No? All right. The Hebrew name. Come on, guys. Where are you all? Wake up. Wake up. It's time to focus. The name of the Hebrew name is Becher. The Becher, interesting, the Becher is a Yiddish word. That means the Vassing cup. The Kior is the is the wash basin. Okay. And we are like Kohanim. We are the Kohanim. And just like the Kohanim are the ones that wash their hands to start their service, so too we wash our hands to start our service of Hashem in the morning. And that's a powerful thought. You know, when you open your eyes up and you meditate for a moment, or you're wiping your eyes, to think to yourself, I am a messenger of God. I am a priest, a Kohen, who serves in God's world, like the Kohanim would serve inside the sanctuary. That's a very, very powerful thought. That's very, very empowering. We're not just randomly waking up. We're waking up because we have a mission. We have a goal to achieve. We got things to work on. We got things to do. And so I wash my hands in preparation and enthusiasm to prepare ourselves for that particular service. That's one insight, one reason for why we wash our hands. It gives us a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning. I've got a job to do. Even I go to shul, or I go to work, or go for a run, a bit more difficult during this time. But when I do what I need to do, I'm not just doing it because I'm functioning or I'm living. I'm doing it because I've got a mission to do. I've got a mission to do. I've got a purpose to run. And that's why I wash my hands in the morning. Why we wash our hands in the morning as we get up. And this is more Kabbalistic and more spiritual. And not often does the code of law quote Kabbalah. You know, Kabbalah normally sounds like this esoteric, hidden, abracadabra stuff. But from time to time, Code of Law, Shulchan Aruch, actually quotes Kabbalah and makes the Kabbalah so real and so practical in our lives. So let me share with you what the Kabbalah says, quoted by the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Law, for why we wash our hands in the morning. Kabbalah says that at nighttime, a person is somewhat dead. Night is sleep, is a percentage of death. We're not fully functioning. We're not fully conscious. And what happens when we are dead? Tumah, impurity, attaches itself to us. And we become impure. Good, Trevor Gerson, well done to remove impurities. Fantastic. So Tumah attaches itself to us, and we become tameh at nighttime. We become impure, spiritually impure. So we wake up in the morning, and then we get our life back, our neshama back, and full consciousness. It says that the impurity barefoot. Their feet was part of the service. And so they would need to wash their hands and their feet in order to purify themselves. Because as you wake up in the morning and the neshama comes back in, and I start to breathe the breath of life, the impurity leaves me and goes to my hands. The externalities, the externals of the body goes to my feet, goes to my hands. And so then I wash my hands. And as I wash my hands, I totally remove myself. I free myself of those levels of impurity. There's two fascinating insights when it comes to this. One of them is regarding non-Jewish people. So take, for example, the nanny in your home, the assistant, the domestic that helps you in the morning. So she walks into the kitchen in the morning, and I hope she's washing her hands. She shouldn't only be washing her hands at a time of lockdown. If she's going to be working in your kitchen, she should be washing her hands every day. So for hygiene purposes, she goes to the tap and she takes soap and she washes her hands to prepare herself for the kitchen. Now, do you have to come along to her now and say to her, well, listen, I just listened to Rabbi Stern's broadcast on Facebook or YouTube, whichever platform you're listening on. I just listened to Rabbi Stern's lockdown inspiration talk, and he said that everybody who wakes up in the morning has to take a vassing cup and literally wash their hands, alternating 1, 2, 3, 4 till 6. So you, ma'am, I wanted to go to the attaches itself to the body. Well, if impurity attaches itself to the body, then surely the non-Jew also should have to do the same. Well, that's not the case. The non-Jew does not have to wash their hands in the morning with a vassing cup like we need to. Why not? If it's impure, it's impure. Who cares who it is, Jew or not Jew? Impurity is impurity. What's the difference? So here's the answer. The answer is that the tumah only attaches itself to the Jew. It does not attach itself to the non-Jew. How's that? The tumah, the impurity, only attaches itself to the Jew, does not attach itself to the non-Jew. Interesting, hey? Why is that? Because the negative force of impurity, looks for a void in holiness. When there's a void in holiness, that's where there's impurity. Trevor Gerson, how do we know that? Trevor, can you just clarify that question? How do we know what? What point that I just said are you asking on? Just clarify that question. So impurity attaches itself to a Jew and not to a non-Jew. Why? Because the impurity is looking for a void of holiness. When there's a void of holiness, tumah attaches itself. My friends, only a Jew has the holiness or the void of holiness. Obviously, all creations. Now Trevor Gerson's asking. So you're saying only Jews are holy? Good question. Obviously, everyone is part of God's creation, and everyone is holy. But this level of holiness that we're talking about, the level of holiness that is so holy to the point that when there's a void, tumah attaches itself, that level of special holiness is only for a Jew. Trevor, you asked me how I know this. So Trevor is a student of the book of Tanya, and Trevor will know in the book of Tanya it speaks about the neshama, and only a Jew has a neshama. Obviously, a non-Jew has God's God-given vitality and life to him or her. Absolutely, they're children of Hashem. They're also holy. But a level of a neshama, the level of holiness that we're describing here today, that is only by a Jew. How do I know this? It's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Law. That's how I know this. So, when our neshama is somewhat lacking, there's a void that's created. In that void, that's where tumah, impurity, attaches itself. The non-Jew who doesn't have such a high level of kedusha like the Jew, the non-Jew's void is not as much of a void as the void of a Yid, of a Jew, and therefore tumah, impurity, does not attach itself to the non-Jew. And so when the non-Jew walks in the morning and they wash their hands for hygiene, obviously, we don't need to tell them, now take a cup, take a kvart, a cup, and wash your hands. No, they don't need to wash their hands because they don't have tumah. And because they don't have tumah, therefore they don't need to. But we who have a neshama, and the neshama comes from a very high source, and when there's a void, that's when the impurity attaches itself to the particular person. And to get rid of that impurity, we got to wash our hands. Keep on asking the questions, guys. I like the questions. It's good. Keep on asking the questions. It keeps us all engaged. So I appreciate it very, very much. It doesn't have the void while sleeping. Therefore, it doesn't have tumah and impurity for which they need to wash their hands. Great. We're going to move on to another interesting point. What about children? What about children? I'm talking about toddlers. And this is a time when we have our kids all around us. So it's busy with our kids. And we're all serving breakfast and helping our children in the morning. You know, and this is a good question. What about kids? So here's something interesting. Do kids have a neshama? Do kids have a neshama? Because we said only someone who has a neshama and then is a void to the neshama, that's when the tumah, that's when the impurity attaches itself. So what about children? So Rabbi Shlomo Zalman of Liadi writes that a child, only properly gets the neshama when they're bar and bat mitzvah. Sheva goes, is that why they cannot see or touch kosher wine? Exactly, Sheva. You've hit the nail on the head. Correct. Although there's more reason to that. Hard to elaborate in this particular shir on that question, but you're definitely on the right track. So, what's the neshama by bar and bat mitzvah? Really? Does that mean they're not living? No, absolutely they're living. They're living from the moment of birth or moment of conception, but they don't have a neshama. There's a difference. Vitality. And that's why we alternate hands in washing hands. Well done, Norman. Thank you. So Trevor, he writes that barmi or bati, that's the time when the neshama comes into the body. Until that point, a baby's born or conceived. Yes, there's life and vitality that gives a child life for sure. But the highest level, the neshama that we're talking, children only have the void. Children only have the neshama, the soul at barmi or bati, bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah. They only get the void of nighttime then. They only get the tumah and the impurity then. So let them wash their hands at bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah. So the simple answer is, well, it's chinuch, it's education. And we have to educate our children. Okay, that's true. And there's a lot of validity to that. We got to educate our children. But there's something else besides that too. He writes a powerful thing. Although the bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah is a time when the neshama enters a person, and so the neshama enters a body over time. Over time. It's a slow process. Although it's fully completed by bar mitzvah, but the process begins by birth and or the bris, and that's when the neshama trickles in. The neshama trickles into the body through the process of the next 12, 13 years until bar mitzvah. And therefore, because the neshama is trickling in, the child does have some level of the neshama. Therefore, the child has some level of void at nighttime, and therefore the child has some level of impurity, and they got to wash their hands. Not just out of education, as Trevor Gerson writes, truly and correctly, not just out of education and chinuch, but because they themselves have that level of kedusha, of holiness, and tumah, of impurity, mainly not to the same extent as adults would, but they themselves experience that at the same time. So that's some of the insights behind the fasting in the morning, the netilat yadayim. In fact, we even have a bracha for netilat yadayim. We say in the morning, Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav b'tzivanu al netilat yadayim. It's part of our morning services. It's part of our morning davening. So it's an important part to incorporate. If we're not doing it yet, now's the time to start. And I encourage you all. It gives us a whole new sense of holiness and sanctity and preparation for the coming day coming forward. I'm going to wait a couple of moments before we conclude the class to see if there's any comments or questions. If you'd like to ask or question or engage, it'll be nice to talk and hear from you. So feel free to make a comment, and we'll wait a moment just for some comments to come through. Okay, so it's been wonderful learning again with you all. I hope that gave you some insight into the point we started yesterday about permeating our day with life and the neshama. Please God, we'll continue our discussion in due course. In the meantime, I wish you all a good day and we'll hope to see you back. A child's neshama is like that of an older person. Maybe after they get the full neshama, but not when they're a young child. God bless, keep well, have a wonderful day.